As a finance broker, you've been involved in a number of construction loans. This can be a complicated area. Can you step us through some of the things that need to be considered when someone's looking to develop a property and they need finance to do so?
One of the first question I would look at is ownership. Who's going to own the property that's going to be purchased? Is it going to be in individual names, husband and wife, one name, or is it going to be in a company? Is it going to be in a trust? What type of trust? There's a number of different trusts around the place. Are they looking for asset protection, that type of thing? So that also influences the lender, because whoever is on the title has to also be on the loan and has to be involved. So we need to know the ownership structure and how they're going to, I suppose, work through that. It could also influence their tax as well. So that's critical to know up front. That also can influence when they sign their contracts. What name are they going to put on their contract? If they know what they're going to do long term, they may put it in a company name, or they might put it in their own names, and they may be able to have wording like and/or nominees and assign it over to another entity down the track. But they'd have to get their own advice on that side of it. But it's critical to think of those things right up front.
Sure.
The other is how's the property going to be purchased? And what I mean by that is, have they got cash that they're going to use as a deposit, or have they got equity that they're going to access, or are they going to use a property as collateral security? So in other words, are they going to have, say, two properties, they're buying one and taking security over that property and another property, an established property, or are they going to access equity and draw it out and use it as a deposit, or have they got physical cash? And how much have they got available? Because that could influence what they need to cover their deposit, minimum deposit and fees, but also they need to have enough money for working capital and for future. If they're going to subdivide, they need money up front and things like that. The next part is that we need to look at the time frame. What time frame are they considering? So are they looking at buying the property, subdividing it and building it? What's the time frame they're expecting that to take place? Are they looking to start building straight away before they got the subdivision through? Or are they looking to get the subdivision through and then build once they've got the new titles in place? Those things can influence how you set your finance up, and also too whether the lender will do it or not. Another one is that, are they considering selling the property or some of the properties once it's been completed, or are they planning to keep it and hold it long term? Again, that could influence what lender you go to, but also how you structure your finance, because if you're going to sell the property, you may be more concerned about exit fees, early repayment fees, the fees in setting up, fees in selling, things like that. You may also be prepared to use more capital or put more money in because you know that it's only a short period of time, or the money that you put in is not going to be locked away. So your strategy of how you finance it could be different to if you're going to buy and hold the property and keep it long term. Another question would be then to look at and say, okay, are we providing, or do we have the ability to provide full income verification? So are you able to provide income pay slips, if you're self-employed, profit and loss statements showing that there is sufficient profit and income to be able to support the borrowings? Or if you're self-employed and you haven't got the ability to, or you don't want to provide your financials, you can be self-certified, which is a low doc loan. So again, you need to know that up front, because that could influence your finance structure, but how much the lender will require you to put down as a deposit. So again, if you're not clear on that, you could be doing your figures and find out, oh, I have to be low doc, and now I have to tie up a lot more money.
Sure.
Which then comes into having working capital to complete the subdivision. So if you're going to be subdividing a property and then you're also going to be constructing the homes, have you got enough capital not only to buy the initial property and cover your fees and deposit to settle, but have you got enough money left behind to cover the upfront fees for the subdivision? Have you got enough money then to maybe start doing some of the preliminary work for the building? Some of those people may require money up front. You may want money to cover holding costs during that period of time, because you're not going to be getting any rental income until the houses are completed, but you'll still have interest costs. So what money have you got available for working and completing the project?
Have you found that people have been caught out by not considering that?
Yes, and recently too. And sometimes it's just not having an understanding of what's required and what's involved. Recently there's a situation of a property being divided into 3 titles, and there had to be a road put in. There was $40,000 to $50,000 of extra cost to have to put a road in. Council wouldn't approve it unless it was done, and they had to have that money up front. That also wasn't budgeted for, so it's eaten into their profits. So you've got to be aware of all those costs and things like that up front, and know that you've got enough money to see it right through to completion.
And would you say in that instance that really that happened due to a lack of due diligence?
Yes, and some people also get over enthusiastic and rush in and look at the bigger numbers, but don't look at the bottom line. So it's like running a business. You've got you have to be realistic with the market value, which is like if you're going to sell it or what it's worth, if you're going to keep it, what the value of the property will be when it's completed, and then you've got to work backwards and work out all your costs involved to see the bottom line. A lot of people just look at the top figure and don't understand what's going on in the middle. And when they actually made the commitments and they're locked in to have to follow it through, they then realise there wasn't enough profit in there to cover all their costs. So sometimes some people can actually go through the process and they lose money, not make money.
Yeah.
But it's not the property. I would say that there's not been enough due diligence done and research done right at the start.
Yeah.
Or they 2 things. One is that the project is not profitable enough, or the other is because there's those extra costs in the middle process, they didn't have enough working capital or enough resources to be able to complete the project. They get halfway through it and they're stuck.